significantly the other part of the civilization that does not, and the xenophobic isolationists will go away because their population will be so small in comparison to the others unless they take over the entirety of the civilization and suppress the will of all the others. They will expand. So it's not a very good solution because, let's be real, that's not something that would happen all over an entire civilization. Like even ours, right? Look at how we're only isolated to this planet, and look how many different ideologies there are. Even in today's standards, like there are people who have freaking iPhones who still believe in freaking magic, dark magic, like, you know, shamans and wizards and shit. Old school stuff, not in the new age bullshit stuff that people get into today with all that nonsense. I'm talking like old school, like, you know, witch doctors calling down lightning from the sky. I don't know if you've seen that video from South Africa, but that shit was hilarious, dude. Absolutely hilarious. Let's refine all this ore. So what are we looking at? Let's see, we got the so isolationism might be one. Now you don't necessarily have to be xenophobic. There could be this. Now check this out. What if this could be an interesting solution to the Fermi paradox? What if the xenophobic isolationists aren't hiding? What if they are spread out throughout the galaxy? We just can't see them. And the reason we can't see them is because they're not disassembling solar systems and building giant space stations around stars that could be easily detectable by a species like us that has advanced sufficiently enough to observe the stars with advanced telescopy, I believe is how you say that. Advanced telescopes. What if they wipe out all civilizations that reach a certain point? What if they are so advanced that they have probes in every star system in the galaxy? And once we reach a certain level of technology, they'll just send a, relativistic kill missile. A relativistic kill missile, by the way, is something traveling at near the speed of light. And if something traveling that was large enough near the speed of light hit the planet, it would hit with enough energy to kill every human being on the planet, essentially. Imagine you had the thing that killed the dinosaurs was like the size of Texas. It was a giant rock the size of Texas. Well, now imagine you have something that's the size of, about a dozen school buses. A dozen school buses. A giant metal slug the size of a dozen school buses. And then you send it at 99.9% of the speed of light at Earth. It would destroy all life on this planet. Because it would have so much kinetic energy, it would punch through the crust, and it would destroy all life on the planet, most likely. Maybe not all life, but it would probably destroy all human life. And so you don't even need something that big. You could have 100 things that are 10 times as small, and just shotgun them all at the planet, and it would essentially end our civilization and probably our species, if not utterly obliterate our ability to advance any further. It wouldn't even have to annihilate us as a species. And so this could be one of the reasons is that they hide insofar as that they know that if they built giant space structures around stars, that at a certain level of technology, all these other civilizations that could potentially advance enough to contend with them for space could see it. And so what they do is they know that, so they hide, relatively speaking, in a way that we can't detect. And then once we get to a certain point, they wipe us all out. So the reason there are no alien species that we can't see building giant structures is because there is already a species out there doing that in a way that we can't detect. And then before we can get to a level of technology where we can detect them, they wipe us out. And they've been doing it since they've been doing it. Since they arose from whatever planet they came off of. There could also be one of the more famous solutions to the Fermi paradox is the solution that almost every civilization will get to a certain point where it kills itself. with like nuclear missiles. Because I mean, imagine we have nuclear missiles, okay, and it has actually created a very interesting paradigm on Earth. Funnily enough, there's more peace since we developed nuclear missiles, nuclear arms, I should say, than there has been in any time in human history before nuclear arms. And you say, Tango, you magnificent bastard, what are you talking about? There's war all over the place. You're right, there is war all over the place, but not as much. And that is the key, right? Before the development of nuclear weaponry, war was, man, it was everywhere. Everywhere. I mean, especially before modern industrial era, you could there was war on literally every continent but Antarctica. All the time. There's always somebody fighting in Africa. There's always somebody fighting in Europe. There's always somebody fighting in Asia. There's always somebody fighting in Australia. There's always somebody fighting in the Americas. Every single one. And it's because humans are a conflict-driven species. We seek to expand. We seek to have things that others have. And let's be real. If there weren't humans in a place that had all these resources that we want, we just walk over and take them. But there are humans there, so we can't just walk over and take them. We have to get rid of the other humans first, or convert them to our civilization / ideology, and then we can go get those resources, kind of thing. And that's been basically the thing that humans have been doing since before we had civilization and language. No, let me take that back. Since before we had language and then civilization. So it's not something new. It's one of the things that really bothers me about when people look back at World War II and they see what was going on in the German Empire. I'm not gonna call them that. I'm not gonna say that word because the internet is what it is today. God help you, son. God help you, son. But one of the things that people don't understand, if you look back in history, that thing that the Germans were doing, that thing that was done on an industrial scale that's horrible and absolutely should never, ever, ever be done, was done all the time throughout human history. Over and over and over and over. It was that, like, what was going on in the German Empire wasn't abnormal. It was normal before that era. So before the industrial age, that was normal human behavior. We would kill each other. We would exterminate one another. We would genocide one another constantly, all the time. Everybody did it at all times. I mean, that's what the Aztecs were doing when they were sacrificing human beings. They were literally harvesting people from the surrounding tribes until there were none, and they had to go further and further and further and further out. And because they were harvesting those people, their actual people were able to expand into those areas and so on and so forth. The other Native American Indians did it in the north, or in North America. Europeans have been doing it to one another for ages. I mean, there were tales of Jewish individuals being purged in Britain, France, Spain, Germany, and all over Eastern Europe, well before any modern era. This is like way back medieval times. 1200 is one of the ones that I heard, where there was a law that was passed in some town in Spain, or was it France? I can't remember, where the Jewish individuals weren't allowed to live in this kingdom. I mean, it was a small kingdom, but that's beside the point. Is that it's and it wasn't just them either. It wasn't just one ethnic people that have been doing this throughout history. No. It's everybody against every other ethnicity. And one of the funniest things is that there's a saying that religion is one of the great unifiers, and then people laugh at that and like, but religion has caused more religious wars and blah 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 blah. Yes, but what religion taught human beings is that if you unite under an ideology, ethnicity kind of doesn't matter. If you're all of the same ideology, you all follow the same set of rules, then whether or not you're actually of different races or different ethnicities kind of doesn't matter. It does. Don't get me wrong. It definitely does. But once you get rid of all that, it doesn't matter anymore. And it's like one of those things. It's like if you have one of the things that really blew my mind was African Americans who grew up in Germany because their parents were in the military are completely and utterly different from the vast majority of ones that grew up here in the United States in big cities. And especially if you were, or even if you were in the United States, but you grew up in a small town, not in a big city, it's completely different. And a lot of it is cultural in a way, not in a way, in a very big way. And so if you have an overriding ideology, which Christianity did for Europe, even though it caused a lot of sectarian wars, those sectarian wars also promoted religious tolerance within Christianity itself. So the different sects could coexist without constantly killing one another over deviations in ideology. And it was a great advancement in as far as our societal advancement was concerned. The ability to be able to tolerate those who have different ideologies than you and live within relative peace. Islam did the same thing for a while anyway, for the most part. In Islam, race really doesn't matter. It does to people because, you know, people are people, and that's how it works. But for the most part, it doesn't matter what race you are. It matters if you're Islamic or not. That's what matters. And one of the funniest things, I swear to God, I've seen is the most gingerish dude on the planet, like white as snow, hair as red as fire. And I mean, he's standing with a bunch of dudes who are Arabic, and they're all, you know, talking about Allah and all this stuff. And it's like, it doesn't even matter that he's freaking white and ginger. Nobody gives a damn. And it's like, I mean, as much as I dislike extreme religion, I mean, when you look at that, it's like, okay, yeah, that's kind of cool. I'm not gonna say that's not a good thing insofar as a uniting force, and it really is. So when you have an overriding ideology, all this ethnic stuff just kind of falls away. And funnily enough, I kind of went off on an extreme tangent. I forgot where I was going with it. I have no idea. We were talking about exterminating other alien species. Wow, I really did just go off on a tangent, didn't I? As far as ideologies uniting, that was what it was. So if a species has an ideology that unites the entirety of the species, and it promotes certain things, then it could allow that species to get out into the galaxy and not die on its own planet. That's one of the things I'm afraid of that might happen to humans should the current cultural revolution, should extreme religious fanaticism dominate our societies, is that it will keep us stuck on Earth. And the only thing that will really end our species is an asteroid or a comet or some such big rock smashing into our planet. Solar flares could do it too. If the theory that micronovas happen, then that could end it too. A micronova is where our star, the sun, Sol, will have a nova event where basically the top layer of atmosphere, quote unquote atmosphere, I'm doing air quotes here, will be blown off in all directions, which means a large amount of solar mass, which is mostly gas, but it's in a form of plasma that is superheated to like 2 million degrees, if not higher, smashes into Earth's atmosphere. Yeah, that would be very bad. A solar flare could, if it hits us correctly, could end our civilization, right? There was one in the 1800s that blew up like every telegraph line in the U.S. and around the world. And if that same thing happened today, it would destroy our technological civilization. Like all of our phones, all of our computers, all of our satellites, literally everything but, say, even our cars would shut down because most of them have sophisticated computers. The only things that would still work are old school cars and old school machinery that doesn't use sophisticated ass computers. Our entire electrical grid would be utterly destroyed because it's not shielded properly from that. So we're going to refine all this ore too. So we're almost done here. I'm actually quite excited to see what we might be able to make out of this. I don't know if I have enough rare earth elements. We might go mining some more. I'm having a lot of fun talking about this because, man, I could go on and 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 it's gonna be it's absolutely awesome, absolutely awesome. So most of the stuff that I have is refined ore now. I hate the fact that you can't Let's see. Is this refined ore too? No. Okay. Where's the refined ore? What? There's no tab for refined ore? Are you kidding me? Okay, that's... Does it say what this is? No? 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 Apparently not. Apparently you cannot see the refined ore. That's kind of dumb. Why is there not a... Why is there not? Huh. Okay. Well, all right. Let's see. Do I have anything else that I need to refine? We got 83 there. 132. 29. No, I need. Maybe I might be able to do that one. Let's see if there's anything else. No. So 29 might be enough. I think it requires 30. So we'll see. We shall see, my dudes. Ore refinery. Refine all ore. No, let's do this. Boom. So one of my favorite solutions to the Fermi paradox, the one that actually seems to explain almost every single thing, is that we, my dudes, are the precursor civilization. And what do I mean by precursor civilization? Well, you know how in Star Trek and Babylon 5 and all these other shows, there is an old civilization that's thousands of years, if not millions of years old, that is so technologically advanced, it's insane, and blah, 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 blah. In Star Trek, they were called the Preservers. In the episode where Kirk, in the originals, in the OT, in the OS, in the original series, where Kirk and crew go to a planet and they find literal Native American Indians that have been there for like 500 years. They were transferred from Earth to this planet, and they had a sophisticated like asteroid. They had a sophisticated computer there, weapon that destroyed asteroids that would come wipe them out and stuff like that. They had to put that there because the planet was very unstable. Not only that, there's a lot of lore in the books where it talks about how there's dozens of Earth-like planets, literal Earth-like planets, i.e., when you look at them, they look just like Earth. It's not just, oh, they're class M and they have oxygen, nitrogen. No. We're talking there's a boot on Italy, or Italy is a boot on these planets. There's a continent of Africa, North and South America. You know, like they look exactly the same land masses and stuff. And what it was in the lore, and this is not actual like this is not in the actual official lore as far as it goes, but the Preservers they built all these planets for other human civilizations as an experiment. Earth, the one we come from, this one, the one the Federation originally originated on, is the original Earth. It actually is. And that all these other planets were built specifically to house certain human civilizations to see how they would develop over time. Because apparently they didn't think that we would develop space travel in the next 1,000 or so years. I don't know. It's you know, dumb sci-fi. What can you say? What can you say? So, in all these series, there is an ancient civilization that has all kinds of crazy nonsense and all kinds of technology, and they do all this crazy stuff. Well, one of the solutions to the Fermi paradox is that we are that civilization. There are no other civilizations out there that have developed to our level of sophistication yet that we could detect within either our galaxy or other galaxies. Because let's be real, if there were other civilizations out there that were doing this in other galaxies, we would be able to see it. Because it would, the reason, and okay, let me just explain why this is a thing. Why would we be able to see other civilizations out in space? Okay, so the logical thing to do once you've developed a civilization is not colonizing planets, not terraforming planets. That's not the logical thing to do. That's an actual extreme. Ooh, what is that? That's an actual extreme form of energy waste. And I say that in a very loving way because it is. Even though that's what Star Trek and all the other sci-fi shows do. Oh, it's all about space colonization, where Babylon 5 is probably one of the better ones in this because they basically built that giant space station. And let's be real, they only did that because it was supposed to be like, a place where aliens and humans intermingle and blah, 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 blah. But anyway, space stations are the future. Space stations are the future. Not colonizing planets. There may be people who colonize planets, don't get me wrong. That's totally a thing. It's totally a thing, but it probably will not be the mainstay of most people's. Why can I not? Okay, there we go. It probably will not be the mainstay of human civilization's expansion into the galaxy. So what will more than likely will happen is that we will build giant space habitats to englobe our star, Sol. And what this will do is it will attenuate the light. That means it will make it blink in a certain way that will be noticeable to other people who stare at our star through a telescope. So if you're looking at a star through a telescope and let's say it had a Dyson swarm around it, which is a bunch of habitats and non habitats that are like solar sails and other things to collect energy and whatnot, it would change the light coming from the star in such a way that we would notice. And it would do it in such a way that we would notice that it was artificial as well. This is one of the reasons why a few years back there was this huge hoopla about this star that had this weird dimming thing going on with it. It was because the only real explanation at the time was that there's this alien civilization building a giant megastructure around it. Because there was no natural phenomenon that we knew of that could create such a signal from a star. Now, they don't think that's the case because there would be very specific things that, like, say, a Dyson swarm or other, that a Dyson swarm or other things around a star would be able to detect. So it doesn't, just because we don't know what it is, just because we detect some weird light around it, doesn't mean it's aliens. That's not what it means. That's not how that works. Just like UFO. When people say, oh, UFO, that means it must be aliens. It's like, no, that's not what UFO means. UFO is unidentified flying object. When you say it's a UFO, you mean you have no freaking clue what it is. If you hear UFO and you think aliens, you're thinking about it the wrong way, my dude. I hate to be like so like hardcore on that, but that's literally the thing. It's like saying the sky is blue, and then you're like, well, actually, it's black. It's just the rays of the sun through the sky. And it's like, okay, dude. Okay. No. Get away from me. Get away from me. Get away. Get away. Get away. Go away. Okay, it is increasing its distance. By the way, its distance is right here. That's what I'm looking at. I don't want him to attack me. I got 2 mining lasers, dude. Damn, look at all that loot. Boom. This is why 2 mining lasers is awesome. I just need a bigger cargo hold, man. I need to get another ship. Speaking of which, let's check out the trade net. Let's check out the trade net. So asbestos, what is this? Buying. I can buy asbestos. I'm looking to see how I can maybe do some trading here. Because this is something I'm interested in too. Antimony is 70,000 units. So it's at the trade station. Price per unit is 13. So this is a buy order. Are there any sell orders? No. What about CO2 scrubbers? Nothing. All contracts. So I don't really know how this works. So who is buying this? Leah 1 Outpost. They're buying this. And they want 18,710 units of it. And they will pay 284. That's kind of cool. That is kind of cool. So, damn, they want a lot of that, don't they? So they're buying antimony. I have like 2 blocks of this. And they want to sell it, and they want to buy it for 328. So you could make a lot of money just transferring, running stuff between systems, right? That's interesting. I quite like that. All right, let's get out of this. Keep it going. So we would be able to detect crazy ass space structures, and not only that, if civilization were advanced enough, they would be able to disassemble entire solar systems, including stars, via a process called star lifting, which we would totally be able to detect and see. There's no way you could star lift a star, especially over a long period of time, and humanity not detect it. Especially if it was a star anywhere near our solar system, if it were in our galaxy, I should say. Now, if you're talking about a star in another galaxy, that's a whole other ballgame. The closest galaxy is, Andromeda, and it's 2 million light years away. So we've only been here for 2 million years. Are we at max capacity? Almost max capacity. So we've only been around for like 2 million years. And we've only been around for like 2 million years. So we have been around as long as it would take for light to travel from Earth to Andromeda. That's crazy. So 2 million years ago. So let me put it to you like this. Let's say 3 million years ago, a species in the Andromeda galaxy developed faster than light travel and wanted to colonize their entire galaxy. And they did so. And they did it. And they fully englobed every star in their galaxy in a Dyson swarm or a Dyson sphere a million years ago. Right? So 3 million years ago, they started getting into the stars with FTL. And it took them 2 million years to colonize the entire galaxy and then englobe every single star in the Andromeda galaxy in a Dyson sphere / swarm. We wouldn't know about it for another million years. Imagine that shit. Imagine if one day we're looking at the Andromeda galaxy and it just blinks out of existence. Now, that's not exactly how it would work. Each stars would just start blinking out of existence one by one, and we'd be like, what's going on in the Andromeda galaxy? And more stars would start blinking out, and it would take a long period of time. You know, we'd have to be observing it for a really long period of time. But that's what would happen. Is that slowly, ever so slowly, one star would blink away, then another, then another, then another. And more than likely, if it were Dyson swarms and not spheres where they're literally englobing entire stars, what would more than likely happen is that the stars would simply start to attenuate. And by attenuate, I mean their light would start to get dimmer and dimmer and dimmer and dimmer, to the point where you could barely detect it anymore. And other stars would do the same. And you're like, what's going on, man? Is there what is this new thing of physics that we haven't understood? And it'd be like, no, it's artificial, because you can kind of tell because of how the light is attenuated. Not only that, certain metals and materials attenuate light differently. So you could infer what is attenuating the actual light if you knew the spectra that the attenuation was from, because not everything is completely 100% opaque, right? There are metals like steel. If you englobed our star in steel, like a steel ball all around it, depending on how thick it was, you would still be able to see that star in certain wavelengths of light, because the globe that encircled it would be giving off heat based on the amount of radiation it's receiving from the star. So you might block all of the light, but you would still see the heat. So if we saw stars start blinking out of existence, but we could still see them in certain wavelengths of light, in like below red and stuff, in infrared and whatnot, and below that, then we would know there's something weird going on, i.e. something is blocking the physical light, but we can still see the actual heat from it. It's one of the reasons how we detected that there's gas and dust all throughout our galaxy, blocking most of the galaxy from being seen, is because one day somebody decided to take infrared pictures of the sky and noticed there are a lot more stars out there than we thought there were. And that was pretty crazy. And that's just one of those technological developments that got us to where we are today. You know what I'm saying? That inference that's the case. And so that is how we'd be able to see that. Now, if things like Star Trek is true, where FTL is not only possible, but relatively easy once you get a certain level of technology, i.e., warp drive, and once you're able to produce enough electrical energy in a certain way and whatnot, then you can use warp drive and gallivant around the galaxy and whatnot. The problem still becomes that the most efficient way to live in space is habitats, not planets. And the biggest reason is that planets, you only live on the surface of the planet, which is a very small area of living compared to the rest of the planet. Not only that, if you don't have it's much easier to mine a planet for material and build that shit in space, or more specifically, mine asteroids and comets for the material and build that shit in space than it is to get into a giant gravity well that is a planet and go from there, right? Because unless we develop space travel, one of the reasons that in Star Trek that it makes sense in Star Trek, for instance, that they live on planets and whatnot, is because it's so easy to get out of a gravity well of a planet in Star Trek. Their ships easily transition from ground to space in like 5 seconds, 5 minutes, excuse me. So it's very easy to do that. It only takes like 10 minutes to get to the moon in Star Trek on a shuttle. You know what I'm saying? So from Earth to the moon, 10 minutes, maybe 30. I don't know. It depends on space traffic and whatnot. But imagine that shit, man. The time it takes you to travel across town is the time it takes to get to the freaking moon. But even if that were the case, it would still be less energy intensive to just live in space rather than to live on the ground. Now, to be fair, a lot of individuals would probably still want to live on solid ground, but that may not be the case. You know what I'm saying? Because that's why the Amish live the way they do. A lot of them want to live like that, but a lot of people don't. And so living a simple life in a natural environment may go by the wayside in the future. We may think that's a big thing, and it probably still will be, but it will be considered odd, much like the Amish are considered odd to us today, and wanting to live with such primitive technology. Not that it's bad, just that it's not what we would prefer to do, kind of thing. And so even if warp drive were possible and all this other advanced technology were possible, it would still most likely not be the case. Now, there is another solution that it could be that the reason we don't see any of this stuff is because there are advanced forms of technology like FTL or other forms of energy generation that we don't understand. Like, imagine if we, not using matter, antimatter, but imagine if we were able to harness 0-point energy, much like the ancients did in the Stargate series, where they had ZPMs and whatnot. But imagine instead of having to make ZPMs, we could literally just harvest it from the universe around us in a reactor. So you could have giant swarms of colonies, but they don't need to englobe the sun to use the sun's energy. We can literally make more energy than we could ever get from the sun by englobing it. So instead, we would englobe planets. So we would live on the planet, and we would live above the planet in orbit around the planets with this massive energy source that would be able to do all these things. And that would be one of the ways in which we would not be able to see an advanced civilization that was out there, because they did not englobe their stars. Although there might be other telltale signs that we'd be able to detect them, unless they were using a form of communications that wasn't on radio waves, which is one of the ways Star Trek gets around it. Because in Star Trek they use subspace communications, which is a faster than light version of regular radio communications. How very convenient, right? How very convenient. So if such things exist, then it's entirely possible the Fermi paradox is simply solved, because once a civilization reaches a certain advancement, they no longer need radio waves outside of short-range communications because they use less power. And so they don't use regular radio waves at all. They use their subspace transmitters that allow faster than light communication, instantaneously talking across large swaths of space. Instantaneously, like a person, like for instance, how I Farwell types and I see it like less than almost instantly in some cases, where and I talk and you hear it like 15 seconds later, so it's almost instant communication. And if you and I were on the phone with one another, it would be instant communication because the signal would be traveling at the speed of light, and light can travel around the planet Earth in like 7 times a second or some garbage ass number like that. Damn, dude, we get a lot of ore now with our second mining beam. I hope I can find another one, dude. 3 mining beams would be insane. I'd be able to probably fill up in like one go, man. Let's park it right here. I need more cargo space, dude. I need a mining ship. That's what I need. That's what I really need, is a mining ship. All right, so we've talked about 2 solutions that could be solutions to the Fermi paradox that are above, intelligent species and technological level. One of the other things that so we've talked about how we could be the very first species to have evolved intelligence in our galaxy, or at least in our local cluster that we could detect. And we've also talked about how there could be, 3, I believe. Yeah. So we've talked about how we could be the first species, how there could be a species of xenophobic isolationists that wipe out every other species and are able to hide themselves from our level of technology, i.e. they're doing all the things I talked about, but they know that it can be detected from across the galaxy. So they do it in such a way as to hide it from less advanced species. And before those species advance to a certain level of existence, they wipe them out. Okay, so that's 2. And then and what was the third one? The third one is their physics does not conform. Advanced physics that involve space travel, faster than light travel, and all that stuff does not conform to what we understand today. And so the physical realities of a future where we are in space and we travel through the stars is very different from how we could conceptualize it right now. And I'm not talking about like sci-fi, right? I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about like modern technology. Like with our current level of technology, we could explore the stars. We could, with technology we have today, and that could be developed in the future, in the next 100 years, we could colonize the entire galaxy. We could totally do it with modern technology and maybe a little bit more, especially once we get like mass manufacturing of things like graphene. That's going to change the game, man. It's going to really change the game. We can actually build orbital rings and orbital structures that stretch down and touch the Earth if we have graphene. It's going to be insane. Life extension technology, all that kind of stuff. And especially with life extension technology, being on a colony ship that has to travel for 500 years to get to Alpha Centauri isn't going to be much of a problem, especially if we develop not only life extension, but like stasis technology and stuff like that. It's going to be pretty crazy. It's going to be pretty crazy. And so as long as so one of the solutions could be that FTL is a thing and that the bounds of physical reality do not conform to what we think they are today, i.e. things like faster than light travel are possible, bending reality is possible. Like imagine if a civilization, instead of exploring the stars, they were just like, hey, we discovered this new amount of physics that allows us to bend dimensions on themselves. So they literally have trillions upon trillions. They have trillion population. So that's like, 10 to the 500th power population, all in a singular solar system, because they're able to warp space in such a way as to create more space inside their solar system without it actually collapsing in on itself into a black hole. Once you reach a certain, amount of mass in a small enough area, it will collapse in on itself. So imagine that, right? That they've developed a power technology and spatial warping technology that allows them to create an infinite amount of space in their small area of space around their solar system. So that would be insane, right? Absolutely insane. All right, we're just going to deposit all this and keep going. Let's go back. Let's get it on, baby. I'm having fun, dude. And so that could be another solution to the Fermi paradox, at least for a few species, right? Most of the solutions that people come up with the Fermi paradox, there's no way that they could be universal, right? There's no way they would be universal. the only way that most of them would work is if a few species did them. So you'd have a few species that would hide. You would have a few species that would develop technology that bends and warps space and all this other stuff. The only one that really solves all of it is the precursor civilization. But that one doesn't really make logical sense either, because the universe is 13 billion years old. If life developed on Earth in 13 billion years, if life developed on Earth only after... what was it? The Earth is 4 billion years old, and life developed at 2.5 billion years ago when life started on Earth. So it only took 2.5 billion, or it only took 1.5 billion years for life to evolve on this planet. It only took, a few million years for Earth to, I think it's a few million years for Earth to form. Wait, hang on. No, it took 1 billion years for Earth to form around the sun. The sun is 5 billion years old. When the sun was 1 billion years old, Earth was formed. And then 1.5 billion years after that, life evolved. So within 3 billion years of the sun forming, life evolved on Earth. And within, let's say, 2.5 billion years, intelligent life arose. So you have, it only took 5 billion years for the sun to form and intelligent life to evolve enough to reach space. 5 billion years. The universe is 13 billion years old. There have been countless numbers of stars that have evolved in our universe. There are countless number of stars that have evolved in our universe and formed and have exoplanets and all kinds of other stuff since the beginning. And it's really hard to imagine in a probability sense that there are not more civilizations out there like us, that we are the only ones. It's very, very improbable. Can I mine this thing? I wonder. Oh, I can. A random rock out in the middle of nowhere. I can totally mine it. Where's the asteroid field? That dude is getting closer. Is that dude coming at me? He is getting closer. I don't know if he's coming this way, or if he's just flying by. $9,000. He's definitely getting closer. It's a light merchant vessel. Okay, now he's going away. Okay, so yeah, he's just continuing on. All right. I just wanted to see if I could hit one of these rocks up that's just out in the middle of nowhere. Because I mean, look at him. Ding, 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 ding. Just to see what's going on. Pyrite, tungsten. Damn, that's a lot of stuff. Nice. So I forgot where I was actually talking about. Us being a precursor civilization is actually, it fits all the criteria to solve the Fermi paradox, but it feels so highly improbable considering that we evolved in such a short amount of time after our star had developed, that it's kind of like, is that really what we're going for there? What are we doing here? 17. He's getting a little bit closer. No. We're not going to worry about that. We found a rich deposit of ore. Yay! Also, it not only tells you right here, it also shows it right here. I'm such a derp. I kept checking my cargo hold, and I had all the numbers in front of me beforehand. So it is entirely possible that FTL is a thing. But, you know, I got to admit, guys, I'm kind of doubtful. I hate to say, I hope that it is a thing, but I'm kind of doubtful. And it's just because if it were, we would be pushing the bounds of that by now. I would think, right? Because we're starting to get into quantum level computing and technology, and we would have at least sussed it out ever so slightly that it may be a possibility, that it is a thing. And so the fact that we haven't even hit upon faster than light travel in any way, then it's like it may not even be possible. Because one of the things that, theoretically speaking, that would make faster than light travel possible is warp drive is a thing where you warp space in front, you crunch space, you compress space in front of your ship, and then expand the space behind it, and so you never actually move. So because the space is moving, not you. And according to the theory of inflation and how the universe formed, space can expand and contract faster than the speed of light. It's just that materials cannot go faster than the speed of light. Anything that has mass cannot go faster than light. In fact, light can't go faster than light, and it has no mass. So there you go. We're almost done here. In fact, I actually need to take a quick break here. So we're gonna go ahead and fly back to the base. Unfortunately, life just comes and smacks you in the face. So we're gonna go do this real quick. As we roll away. Hey, I'll take it. Oh, let's stop. As it does its thing. Bada boom, bada boom, bada boom. All right, let's go. Let's go, baby. So again, thank you guys for being here. I know I've been pontificating for over 2.5 hours, so I very much appreciate it. This is the mining episode. I've been having a lot of fun talking about this stuff. I hope you have too. And thank you for being here. I very much appreciate it. And thank you for all your support. We'll be back. We'll definitely be back to getting some XCOM 2, Long War of the Chosen on Monday. I'm not ending the stream, just in case you're wondering, because I said that. I'm just going to go take a quick break here. I just don't want to do it out in the middle of space because pirates and shit. So we're going to get close. We're going to dock.
Docking.
And I'll be right back. Stay tuned, my dudes. We'll be right back. My dudes, greetings and salutations. Thank you for your patience, my dudes. We are back. We're gonna throw all this stuff in here. So it appears as if I have quite a few of these rare minerals now. This is pretty good. Like I said, I can't wait to get a ship. It seems really weird. It seems really weird that it takes so much effort to get a ship that has a much larger cargo space. You know what I mean? Where I don't have to because it's like, especially with the 2 mining lasers now, it takes me so little time to get the material I need. Is that a rock? What is that? What is that right there? I want to mine that, whatever that is. That's a big rock. That is a big old rock. I'm gonna mine that rock. We're gonna mine that rock. Because I want to mine rando rocks. That's what I want to do. That's what I want to do, baby. Look at how big that thing is. Holy crap. It is out here too, man. I actually thought it was fairly close. I didn't think it was that big. Where's the asteroid field in comparison to this? So, oh, it's up there. Okay. And let's turn on the weapons and the shields. There we go. Now we can thrust on out. Full on, baby. Nice. And boom. Sweet. What do we got? Ooh, nice. Nice. Mo coffee. Mo coffee. All right, so I believe I was talking about before I was so rudely interrupted by my break that we were talking about, or that I was talking about, I should say, the fact that FTL is probably not a thing. It sucks. It really does. But do you guys level up off leveling this stuff? Wouldn't think so. 10 electronics, not bad. 12 mining, hello. Hero. Oh, it's at 70,000. Never mind. I can't scan that one. What about you? 45. Let's do that. That is a mining vessel, I believe. Light merchant. Yep. But yeah, I'm not convinced that FTL is a thing because most of the technology that that scientists think would be used in FTL uses things like negative matter, you know, things that exist in math but don't exist in real life, kind of thing. Much like black holes, in case you're wondering. That's right. I think black holes are bullshit, at least as far as our modern conceptualization of them. But that's because they have to do with math and not actual physical observation. It's just there are some things out in the universe that seem to kind of sort of line up with what we believe are black holes, what we think they are. But in all instances, as far as I'm concerned, they're just rando objects out in the middle of nowhere that exhibit certain characteristics that are very similar to the mathematical constructs that we would call black holes. When they were actually, the funny thing is that if you watch any of the original series of Star Trek, you would know that they were called dark stars, not black holes. They only started being called black holes once they reached mainstream scientific journalism, mainstream scientific journalism, because it was a much cooler name because of the way they act as far as the